Hello everybody, this is Danny and Wanda from Deep South Homestead. We've been asked to do this video by Wholesome Roots on 10 reasons why I homestead. And we thought we'd just throw these out there and kind of give you some ideas about why Wanda and I homestead. This is 10 reasons that we came up with.
And some of them can kind of go together, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was the thoughts that came to our mind first. And the first one that I came up with was because it's always been a part of our lives. Even as young people, growing up at home with our parents, they had gardens. Danny's had animals. Mine didn't have animals, but we had a garden and we canned and that sort of thing. And then when our kids were young, Danny and I both had gardens and, we canned and things like that. And so it's just always been a part of our life, I guess.
Yeah, homesteading has been.
Even though it wasn't called that.
It wasn't called that back then. It was just called living.
Yeah, so it's always been a part of our life. So that's I'd say that's the number one reason. Or at least the number one reason to start the video.
To start the video. It's just always been a part of our life. It's who we are. Secondly, without a paycheck, like Wanda and I live, we don't get a paycheck, so it's just the way we live.
It's a must.
It's a must.
Yeah.
Homesteading, it's just a must for us. We have to raise what we eat.
Yeah.
We have to. We don't have a choice.
We have to raise as much food as we can because we are so limited in the amount of money we make because we don't have a regular paycheck. So homesteading is a must. It's
got to be for us. We don't have a choice because we are not able to get out and work on a public job. It's got to be. We don't have a choice.
And the third reason would be we want to eat healthy food. We want to know that we are eating healthy. So the only way we can really know that is for us to raise our own.
I agree with her on that. I mean, today in the grocery stores, you do not know what you're getting.
No.
So
that's the only way we can have good.
Yeah. That we're comfortable with.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way.
Good organic food. We can eat what's in the grocery store, but you're not going to know what how healthy the food is.
Yeah, and the fourth thing is it's just a simpler way of life. It's a lot less stress on you. It's a whole lot simpler for us. We don't have to get up every morning and try to hit the highway and fight the traffic and then get to the town or wherever we go, to a factory job or whatever, and deal with the public and people all day long trying to, it's just a whole lot less stressful on us than trying to get out there and just beat the world trying to make a living.
Exactly. And I guess the next thing would be we get to create our own utopia here. We're creating an edible landscape, and it's unique to us. It's unique to our place.
Right.
Everybody can have their own spot, and it's going to be unique. No two places are ever going to be alike. You can watch as many people as you want, and you can plan your gardens exactly like theirs, but never are they going to be two places exactly alike. So we're creating our utopia.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, that's... What else is there in life, other than even the scripture says that there's nothing better than a man should enjoy the fruits of his labor.
Yes.
So that's kind of the way we feel about it. And the sixth thing would be we try to keep a lot of the old ways alive because there's so many of the old ways that were good ways. There's so many of the old ways that are good ways. There's nothing wrong with them. There's just that technology has caused man to have to move ahead, and as a result, a lot of these older ways that are proven and tried have been just thrown by the wayside.
And the younger generation don't know them.
No.
So, that's part of it. We like to show people some of the older ways. Granted, there is more work involved sometimes.
Yeah.
But
but most of them are by hand. And if should some sort of life-changing event take place and there's no electricity or something other like that, these are things that need to be known by people. You know, they need to be passed on from family to family and stuff like that, so that we don't lose these traditions that's been brought into our country.
Yeah, and the next thing is, if something happens, food storage is a must. And so you can buy up things at the grocery store and store, but again, we want to know what we have in our storage and what we have in our food storage. So raising it, canning it, drying it, whatever, that's part of our need to homestead, is to have the food we want to eat and have it stored in a storage system.
Nothing. Always be prepared, you know.
Yes.
The eighth thing would be to teach the younger generation homesteading skills. That's something that Wanda and I has always had a desire to do, is to teach the younger generation these homesteading skills, because there's so many times that old people go to the grave and they carry the knowledge they have with them. It's like burying a library when someone passes that has tremendous amounts of knowledge about how to survive the way they used to survive. And I think that's an injustice to the next generation. We as older people need to take the time to show and to teach others. I think that's what we need to do. And
that brings us to number 9. Just to be a part of God's creation, to sit and watch it, to see it grow, to see it. I mean, we don't have to do anything here as far as with the homesteading.
Right.
We add plants and God makes them grow. Sometimes they don't grow, but sometimes, you know, the majority of the time, we get to be a part of what God has here in this creation.
Yeah. And I'm going to say the last thing that I think of, probably the reason we homestead the way we do now. It may not be necessarily the way you do it, but it's to live a debt-free life. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't live fancy. We don't run out and eat all the time. We're not running to the theaters. We're not running to the grocery stores all the time. We're just not out living this fast-paced life, which allowed us to we took all of our money and we dumped it into our debt, and we paid ourselves out of debt, so that we can live this lifestyle the way it's truly intended to live. Now, I know there's lots of people that go to work and they come home and they try to homestead, and it just wears them to a frazzle on the weekends. They're trying to get things done. But Wanda and I has been blessed because we made some pretty wise decisions up front.
Yes.
That's kept us out of debt.
And at some point, you all can be there. Just work to get your debt paid off, and don't stress. Do what you can do now.
Do what you can do
comfortably.
Yeah.
Don't overdo your homestead if you're still working. That's the biggest thing I would say with most anybody, because you burn out really, really fast if you go to a job all day long and then you come home and you've got cows to feed and milk, and you've got goats, and you've got chickens, and you've got a garden, and you've got to try to can that stuff. It gets overwhelming.
It does.
Danny and I do what we do because we don't have a public job. We don't have somewhere we have to be. And if we get up and pick something, we have the time to can it. We have time to take care of the animals. We go at a leisurely pace.
Yeah, we don't run at anything, mainly because we physically can't. But secondly, just simply because you defeat the whole purpose of living this lifestyle if you run at it so hard that you just stay wore to a frazzle and there's no joy in it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to me, that just ruins it all.
And a lot of people think Danny and I work ourselves to a frazzle, but really that's not really true. I mean, you wouldn't believe how much time we spend each day sitting down.
Yeah.
Even though we get a lot done, Danny and I both are so OCD that we plan things and we try to lay them out where we get up, we get things done, then we have breaks, and then we get something else done, and then we have breaks. And so we kind of line things out.
Yeah.
And you don't get as frazzled. There's days we do. I get overwhelmed some days when we have so much that it seems like nothing's going to get done. But we whittle away at it one project at a time, and if it doesn't get done today, we'll try tomorrow.
We'll just work at it tomorrow. You know, I mean, that's just the whole thing in a nutshell, is to get this mentality out of our brains that's been bred into us, that we've got to put this 8 or 10 hour day in, and we got to do this, we've got to do that. There's nothing that says you have to do that. I mean, work at it at a leisurely pace. The old people, if you ever sit around and talk to them, they will tell you they got up when it was daylight enough to see how to, as soon as you could see how to do anything outside, they were outside. They worked till it got hot. In the middle of the day, they come up on the porches, and they laid down, took a nap, stuff like that, and then put the mules up to rest and things like that. And then they'd go back out at dark, or right close to dark, and they'd work on into the evening time when the coolness was in the afternoons. And that's just the way that you learn to survive and learn to work. You don't get out in the extreme heat and bust your tail trying to do something and mess around and have heat strokes and all that kind of stuff. These older people knew something, so we need to learn from them.
So that's the 10 reasons. Some of them may overlap, but that's the 10 reasons we came up with why we homestead.
That's why we homestead. Now, there may be other people with different reasons, but that's why we at Deep South Homestead chose to live this kind of lifestyle.
And so, if you will, go check out Wholesome Roots. I think they have a playlist, and there will be other people that give their 10 reasons for homesteading. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you from Deep South Homestead.